Commander Lyra leaned over the console of her small patrol ship, her sharp eyes scanning the flickering readings on the screen. The moon below was gray and jagged, its surface pocked with craters and streaked with dark dust. She had received a strange signal, a weak distress beacon coming from an abandoned research outpost at the edge of the system. The signal was not strong, but it was clear enough to tell her that someone, or something, was in trouble. Commander, her first officer, Jathal, said quietly. The beacon is old. It has been transmitting for several weeks. It might not be anyone alive. Lyra did not answer immediately. She stared at the screen, considering the possibilities. The Lurithi Alliance rarely had issues here. Most species respected their borders, and the criminals had been chased away from this sector long ago. Yet the signal was real, and someone had sent it. She made a decision. "Prepare a landing party," she said finally. "We go down and check. I want to know who sent that signal. And why." The crew moved quickly. Lyra checked her equipment, making sure her translator and communicator were functioning. She had been on many missions, but something about this place made her uneasy. She had a feeling that whatever was waiting for them would not be simple. When the landing shuttle touched down on the moon's rough surface, dust kicked up and settled quickly. Lyra stepped out, her boots crunching against the rocky ground. Jathal followed her closely, carrying a scanner that could detect life forms in the nearby structures. The outpost was quiet. Its walls were pitted and damaged, the doors hanging crooked on their hinges. There were scorch marks on the walls, signs of a struggle. Lyra moved carefully, her hand on her weapon. She did not want to underestimate whatever had been here. "Commander," Jathal whispered, "I am detecting life. Multiple signatures, small. They are children." Lyra froze. Children. Her mind quickly ran through the stories she had heard about humans. They were considered a strong species, but small, vulnerable, and fragile compared to others in the Alliance. The thought of human children in danger made her chest tighten. "Show me," she said. The scanner led them to a reinforced door. It was partially open, and inside, the light from flickering panels revealed small shapes huddled together. Lyra stepped inside slowly, trying not to startle them. Her eyes widened. There were 6 children, boys and girls, ranging from 7 to 12 years old. Their clothes were dirty and torn, and their hair was matted from weeks without proper care. Their eyes were wide with fear as they saw the aliens enter. Lily, the smallest girl, clutched a worn blanket and did not move. Abigail, a girl with bright red hair, held Daniel's hand tightly. The others, Nora, Ethan, and Sam, stood frozen, unsure if the aliens were friend or foe. "Do not be afraid," Lyra said softly. She crouched down to make herself less threatening. "We are here to help you. You are safe now." The children did not respond. Their fear was too strong. Lyra motioned to Jathal to keep scanning, and the readings showed no immediate danger. But the room smelled of old food and stagnation. It had been weeks since anyone had been here. "Commander," Jathal said quietly, "these children were kept here on purpose. They were not left behind. Someone kidnapped them." Lyra's jaw tightened. She had expected a distress signal to be from survivors of an accident, not from captives. She looked at the children again. Their faces were pale, and some had bruises on their arms and legs. It was clear that whoever had taken them had not cared about their safety. "Who did this to you?" Lyra asked gently, but the children only shook their heads. Lily's small voice finally broke the silence. They said humans are weak," she whispered. "They said no one would fight for us." Lyra felt a cold wave of anger and concern. Humans might be considered weak by some, but she knew that stories about their courage and loyalty were widespread. She had heard of humans protecting each other in situations where most species would flee. Seeing these children scared and alone made her understand something important. Humans may be small, but they were dangerous when provoked. "We will get you out of here," Lyra said firmly. "You will not stay here another day. I promise." The children hesitated, then slowly allowed her to approach. She examined them carefully, checking for injuries. Daniel had a cut on his forehead, and Abigail's arm had a faint bruise. Jathal used his med scanner to determine that none were critically hurt, but they were malnourished and weak from the weeks of captivity. "Can you walk?" Lyra asked. "Yes," Ethan said softly. "Good," Lyra replied. "We are going to take you to safety now. Follow me, and stay close to each other." As they exited the room, Lyra's communicator buzzed. It was a secure line to the Lurathi Alliance Command Center. "Commander Lyra, what have you found?" a voice asked. "Children," Lyra replied simply. "They have been held captive. They were human. They need immediate care. We have to notify the humans and our council immediately." There was silence on the line for a moment. Then the voice said, "Understood. Return to your ship and prepare for evacuation. Command will send instructions." Lyra nodded, even though no one could see her. She guided the children across the rough terrain to their shuttle. They stumbled a little, but she let them take their time. Carter clung to her leg, and Lily held Jathal's hand. She could feel the tension in their small bodies, and she tried to give them comfort through calm words and steady presence. When they reached the shuttle, Lyra made sure the children were seated safely. She gave them water and some small nutrient packs from her supplies. Their small hands shook as they ate, and some of them whispered to each other, sharing quiet reassurances. "Do not worry," Lyra said softly. "You are safe now. No one will hurt you again." Once everyone was secure, the shuttle lifted off from the rocky surface. The children pressed their faces to the windows, looking back at the abandoned outpost. Some of them had tears in their eyes, and Lyra understood that this experience would stay with them forever. Jathal glanced at her, concern on his face. "Commander, the humans will want to know every detail. Whoever did this may face more than punishment. Humans do not forgive threats to their young easily." Lyra nodded grimly. "I know, and I do not want to find out what that means, but we have to act carefully." The shuttle hummed through the thin atmosphere as Lyra set a course for the nearest Lurethi station. The children began to relax slightly, though they still clung to each other for comfort. Lily leaned against Lyra's arm, and for a moment, the commander felt a pang of something she had not expected. Affection. She had been trained to be calm and analytical, but these children reminded her of why she joined the patrol fleet in the first place: to protect life, to prevent harm wherever possible. Hours passed in silence. The children slept at intervals, exhausted from their ordeal. Lyra reviewed the data she had collected. She traced the signal back to its origin, noting the path the kidnappers had taken to avoid detection. Whoever had captured these children had made careful plans, but they had underestimated the abilities of the Lurathi Alliance and the human resolve to protect their young. When the shuttle finally docked at the Lurathi station, medical personnel were ready. Lyra handed the children over to the medics, making sure they were safe and comfortable. She watched as they were taken away, their small hands waving goodbye timidly. Even as relief washed over her, Lyra felt a deep unease. The humans would soon arrive, she knew, and they would want answers. And she also knew that the reputation of humans as fierce protectors of their young was not a story. It was real. The children had survived, but the galaxy had just been reminded that harming humans' children was dangerous, far more dangerous than most species could imagine. She turned to Jathal. "We need to prepare a full report. The Council must know every detail, and we must be ready when the humans arrive. I have a feeling they will not be gentle in their questions." Jathal nodded. "Understood, Commander. I will begin compiling the information immediately." Lyra looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Human ships were coming. They were fast, determined, and protective of their own. And while she respected their power, she also realized that the humans had something else. Something stronger than technology or weapons. They had courage, loyalty, and a fierce instinct to protect their young. As she watched the distant lights of the galaxy shimmer, Lyra made a silent promise to herself. She would ensure these children were safe, and she would learn everything she could about the humans. The stories of their courage were true, and now she would witness it firsthand. The rescue had only just begun. But already, Lyra knew one thing clearly. Humanity was not to be underestimated. And anyone who dared to harm their children would learn that lesson in ways the galaxy would never forget. The Lurithi station was quiet, but tense, as the rescued human children settled into the medical quarters. Lyra walked down the corridor, her boots echoing against the metallic floor. Even though the children were safe, she could feel the weight of what had happened pressing on her mind. She had never seen humans treated this way before. The thought that anyone would cage children as a tactic was beyond comprehension, and she could feel the anger rising inside her. "Commander," Jathal said as he approached, "the Council has received our report. They are convening an emergency meeting. They want full details of what happened here." Lyra nodded. She already knew the Council would want answers. "We will give them everything we have, but we need to be careful. We have to explain without causing panic. If the humans arrive before the Council understands, it could be chaotic." "One down. Ara. One down. One down. One down." Jathal's eyes narrowed. "Do you think they will come quickly?" "I think they are already on their way," Lyra said. She had seen the way human ships moved in previous missions. They were fast, precise, and always focused on their mission. She could imagine the humans already plotting a course, ready to respond to the distress signal. Meanwhile, the children were slowly recovering in the med bay. Lily and Carter were sitting on a bench, sharing a small blanket. Abigail and Daniel were playing quietly with a small puzzle that had been given to them, while Nora and Ethan were drinking nutrient packs offered by the medics. Their faces were tired, and their movements were still cautious. They had learned quickly that not everyone could be trusted, and the aliens, no matter how kind, were still foreign to them. Lyra watched them for a moment and felt a strange mix of protectiveness and responsibility. She had rescued them, yes, but she knew that the humans would take charge once they arrived. And from what she had learned about humans, she had a feeling they would not accept a simple report. They would want action. They would want justice. The council meeting began in a large chamber. Elder Renlor, a respected strategist, presided over it. His long arms crossed over his chest. Other council members from across the sector joined via holographic links. The room was tense as Lyra and Jathal presented their findings. "These children were abducted by criminals from a minor faction," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. "They were kept in poor conditions for several weeks. They were malnourished and frightened. The criminals believed that humans were weak and would not act to rescue them. They were wrong." Several council members murmured among themselves. One of them, a tall alien with dark scales, leaned forward. "Are you saying that the humans will respond to this?" "Yes," Lyra replied. "They are a species that protects their young with great intensity. Even minor threats are taken seriously. They will arrive quickly, and they will want answers and justice." Elder Renlor's eyes narrowed. "I have heard the stories of humans, but I did not expect to see it firsthand. Do you believe they will be aggressive?" They will be determined," Lyra said carefully. "We should be prepared. But I do not believe they will attack unless provoked. Their priority will be the children." The council continued to discuss the situation, debating the best way to handle the humans' arrival. Some wanted to prepare a full report and meet them formally, while others worried that the humans might act independently if they were not immediately informed. Lyra listened quietly. She knew that no matter what the council decided, the humans would act according to their own rules. Back in the medbay, the children were growing more comfortable with Lyra and Jathal. Lily finally spoke up, her small voice trembling. Will they come for us? They will, Lyra said softly. They will arrive soon, and they will make sure you are safe. Carter frowned. Will they be scary? They might be strict, Lyra admitted, but they will not hurt you. They will protect you. The children nodded slowly, seeming to accept her words, though they remained cautious. Abigail hugged Daniel tightly, whispering something that Lyra could not hear. She realized how fragile they were emotionally, and how much the experience had affected them. Hours later, the first human ship appeared in orbit. It was a long-range Guardian frigate, a vessel designed for missions exactly like this. The humans moved with precision, their movements confident and calm. Lyra could see the determination in the patterns of their approach. They did not hesitate or waste time. The docking sequence began smoothly, and the humans boarded the station. Captain Laura Bennett led the team, her posture calm but authoritative. She was accompanied by her officers, Jason Carter, Olivia Shaw, and Alan Bryce. They moved quickly through the corridors, guided by Lyra and Jathal, until they reached the medbay where the children were waiting. When Captain Bennett entered, the children froze. Her eyes swept over them, and then she knelt down to their level. She spoke gently, asking each child for their name and checking that they were unharmed. Her presence was calm, but carried a weight of authority that even the Larethi found imposing. Lily whispered her name, and Bennett nodded. Carter followed, then Abigail and Daniel, and finally Nora and Ethan. Bennett's calm words and small gestures reassured them. She offered water and food, and the children accepted quietly, still wary but beginning to relax. Once the initial check was done, Captain Bennett turned to Lyra. Commander, she said, her voice steady. Thank you for securing the children. Now, I need to know everything that happened. Who took them, and why? Lyra gave a full report. She explained how the criminals had believed humans were weak and would not act, how the children had been kept in poor conditions, and how they had been rescued. She described the state of the outpost and the signals that had led her patrol there. Bennett listened carefully, her expression unreadable. When Lyra finished, she said, You did well. But you must understand something. Humans protect their young with everything we have. Anyone who harms a child will face the full force of our species. This is not a threat. It is a fact. Aubrey. Jathal looked uneasy. Captain, are you saying the humans will retaliate? Bennett shook her head slightly. Not if it is unnecessary. We seek to recover and protect, but we will not tolerate negligence or malice. These children are our priority. Their safety is not negotiable. Lyra nodded, understanding the seriousness of her words. She had heard of humanity's fierce reputation before, but seeing it in action was different. The humans were calm, precise, and yet carried a quiet force that demanded respect. The council members, watching via hologram, were visibly tense. Elder Renlor whispered to one of his aides, I see now why stories speak of human loyalty. Their focus, their resolve, it is unlike any other species. Bennett spent the next few hours with the children, asking gentle questions and making sure they were comfortable. She spoke with Lyra and Jathal about next steps. They needed to locate the kidnappers and ensure they could not harm anyone else. Lyra agreed to provide all available data. As the day passed, the children began to relax more. Lily and Carter played quietly with a small toy given to them by Olivia, while Abigail and Daniel examined the station's walls and consoles, curious about their surroundings. Even Nora and Ethan, usually more reserved, began to interact with the humans and Larethi crew. Bennett observed them carefully, noting small signs of trauma. She instructed her officers to maintain a calm environment ensuring that the children felt safe and secure. She knew that fear could linger long after rescue, and she intended to prevent that as much as possible. Lyra watched the humans in action and felt a growing respect. They were not aggressive or violent without cause. They moved with purpose, understanding, and care. Their focus on the children was absolute, and Lyra realized that this was what made humanity so dangerous to those who threatened it. They protected their own with unmatched determination. By the end of the day, plans were being made. Bennett and her team would lead the search for the criminals, with Lyra and her crew assisting. The council had been briefed, and all parties understood the gravity of the situation. Lyra knew that the next phase of this mission would be critical. The criminals had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would cost them dearly. As the night settled over the station, the children slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. Lyra stood quietly in the corridor, looking out at the stars. She thought about the humans, about their courage and their loyalty, and she felt a strange mixture of admiration and apprehension. When Bennett approached, Lyra turned to her. "Captain, I have never seen a species act this way before. Calm, precise, and yet unyielding." Bennett nodded. "That is humanity. We are not the strongest in terms of technology or size, but we protect our own with everything we have. You will see it in action when we find the criminals. It is not just a matter of law. It is instinct, loyalty, and love. Do you understand?" Lyra did. She had seen it in the children's eyes, in the way they clung to the humans, and in the humans' calm but firm presence. She knew that anyone who harmed human children would regret it. The galaxy had been warned, and the consequences would be severe. As the night deepened, both humans and Lurathi prepared for the mission ahead. The rescued children were safe for now, but the hunt for the kidnappers had only just begun. Lyra knew that the events of this day would change her understanding of humans forever. They were small, fragile in appearance, but beneath that lay a determination and strength unmatched by any other species she had encountered. The stars shimmered outside the station's windows, and Lyra took a deep breath. The human children were safe. The humans were here, and the criminals had no idea what was coming. For the first time, she felt both relief and anticipation. Humanity had arrived, and their presence would not go unnoticed. The next morning, the Lurathi station buzzed with activity. Human officers moved efficiently through the corridors, checking equipment, reviewing data, and coordinating plans with Lyra and her team. Captain Laura Bennett walked with steady steps, her eyes sharp and observant. She seemed calm, but there was a sense of quiet determination in every movement she made. Lyra followed her, trying to keep pace while absorbing the humans' methods. They were organized, disciplined, and focused on the mission. Jathal walked beside her, scanning communications and running analysis on the information they had gathered from the abandoned outpost. "We need to locate the kidnappers' base," Bennett said, speaking in a calm voice that carried authority without anger. "They will have planned carefully, but humans always look for patterns. Every group leaves a trace." "Commander," Jathal said, pointing to the datapad in his hands, "we have their movement mapped across 3 systems. They avoided patrol routes and used small ships to stay under detection. If we follow the trajectory, they should be near a small asteroid belt in the Pharos system." Bennett nodded. "Good. That will be our starting point. We move carefully, but we move quickly. Time is important when children are involved. The longer they are exposed, the greater the risk." Lyra felt a surge of respect. The humans were not reckless. They did not rush in blindly. Every decision was calculated, every step designed to minimize risk and maximize safety. She realized that this combination of discipline and determination was what made humans feared in the galaxy. The team boarded the human frigate, a sleek ship designed for long-range missions. Lyra and Jathal followed, taking positions near the bridge, Captain Bennett introduced the officers, Jason Carter, Olivia Shaw, and Alan Bryce. Each one moved with precision, handling controls, scanning systems, and reviewing tactical data. "Commander Lyra," Bennett said as they prepared for launch, "your crew will assist us with navigation and intelligence. We work together. But the plan follows human protocol. That is not disrespect, it is efficiency. Understand?" Lyra nodded. "Understood, Captain." The frigate lifted off smoothly, gliding through space with quiet power. The human crew coordinated seamlessly, checking trajectories and scanning for any anomalies. Lyra watched, impressed, as the humans worked in unison. She had trained with many species, but this level of coordination and focus was remarkable. Hours later, the frigate reached the asteroid belt. Small rocks floated silently in the void, casting shadows in the weak light of a distant sun. Jathal pointed to a faint heat signature on his scanner. "There. That is likely the kidnapper's base. It is small, but it shows recent activity." Bennett studied the data. "Prepare a tactical approach. We need to be ready for both defense and rescue. The children's safety comes first. Everyone understands that?" "Yes, Captain," the team replied in unison. The frigate moved closer, weaving carefully through the asteroids. Bennett directed the team to monitor all communication channels and to scan for hidden traps. Lyra noticed that the humans treated every detail as critical. Nothing was overlooked. When they reached the base, Bennett gave the order to stop. The frigate hovered in the shadows of a large asteroid, using it as cover. She turned to Lyra. "We will send a small team for reconnaissance first. We cannot risk an open assault without knowing the layout. Jathal, you will provide support from the bridge. Commander Lyra, you will assist in coordinating our movements with your knowledge of the sector." "Aye." Lyra nodded, her heart steady but her mind alert. She could feel the tension in the air. The children's safety depended on their success, and she knew the humans would not fail. A team of human Marines, led by Sergeant Dylan Hart, moved in a small shuttle. They approached the base silently, using the shadows of the asteroids for cover. Lyra and Jathal monitored their progress from the frigate, communicating silently through encrypted channels. The reconnaissance revealed the layout of the base. It was small, but fortified. Several armed guards were present, and there were signs of surveillance equipment. Lyra felt a surge of concern. The criminals had clearly expected intruders, but they had underestimated the humans' skill and determination. Bennett gave the order to proceed. The shuttle carrying the Marines approached the main entrance, using a combination of stealth and technology to avoid detection. Lyra watched as the team deployed quietly, disabling security systems and scanning for the children. Inside the base, the children huddled in a small room. They had been given minimal food and water, and their fear was still evident. When they heard the sound of approaching footsteps, they froze, unsure of what was happening. Lily clutched Carter's hand, and Abigail held Daniel close. Suddenly, a calm voice spoke through a small communication device. It was Captain Bennett. The children's eyes widened, and they whispered to each other. For the first time in weeks, they felt a spark of hope. The Marines moved swiftly, clearing the way and guiding the children toward safety. Lyra monitored the operation closely. She could see the precision and care in every human movement. The Marines communicated with each other silently, using hand signals and subtle gestures. Every step was calculated to avoid harm and ensure the children's safety. The criminals tried to resist once they realized intruders were inside. A few fired weapons, but the Marines responded quickly and efficiently, using non-lethal methods whenever possible. Lyra felt a mixture of fear and admiration. The humans were calm under pressure, but every action carried a force that could overwhelm any opponent. Within minutes, the children were secured. Lily and Carter held each other's hands tightly, while Abigail and Daniel followed closely behind. Nora and Ethan were guided by Marines, their faces showing a mixture of fear and relief. Lyra felt a deep sense of pride and relief. The children were safe, and the humans had proven what she already suspected. They were unstoppable when protecting their own. Bennett communicated with the team outside. "Prepare for extraction. The children are safe, but we must leave quickly. There may be more resistance." The shuttles moved back to the frigate, carrying the children and a few captured criminals. Lyra observed how smoothly the operation had gone. Every detail had been considered, every risk minimized. The humans were not only efficient but also careful to avoid unnecessary harm. Once aboard the frigate, the children were taken to the medbay for examination. The Marines and medics worked together to ensure they were comfortable and safe. Lyra watched as the children slowly relaxed, some smiling for the first time in weeks. Bennett turned to Lyra. "Commander, your crew's assistance was invaluable. The children's safety was maintained because of your coordination and support. But understand this: humans protect their young above all else. Anyone who threatens them will face consequences." "I understand, Captain," Lyra replied. "I have seen it firsthand." Jathal added quietly, "I did not realize the full extent of it until now. Their actions were precise, yet carried a force beyond normal measures. It is impressive." Bennett nodded. "It is. And it is why you must be careful when dealing with humans in situations like this. Their anger is controlled, but when provoked, it is unmatched. You witnessed a fraction of their power today." The Council received a full report after the mission. Elder Renlor reviewed the data and the recordings of the operation. His eyes were wide with a mixture of awe and concern. "I see now why humans are respected and feared," he said. "Their focus on protecting their young is absolute. No other species displays such determination." Lyra stood nearby, listening. She felt a deep respect for the humans and a growing awareness of their power. She had trained her whole life in the Lurethi Alliance. But the humans had shown her a strength that went beyond tactics and weapons. It was loyalty, courage, and an instinctive drive to protect their own. Bennett met with the children in the medbay again. She spoke gently to each of them, offering reassurance and explaining what would happen next. The children were attentive, listening carefully, and for the first time, they seemed to believe that they were truly safe. Lyra watched, feeling a mix of pride and humility. She had rescued the children, yes, but the humans had completed the mission with precision and care. She realized that their reputation in the galaxy was not just for stories. It was real, and it was earned through action. As the day ended, the children slept peacefully. Lyra stood on the observation deck, looking out at the asteroid belt and the stars beyond. She thought about the humans and their determination. She thought about how easily they could have been harmed, and how easily the situation could have been much worse. Captain Bennett joined her quietly. "Commander, you did well. Your crew was critical to the success of this mission. But remember this: humans will act to protect their own, and when that drive is engaged, no force can stop them. You saw it today. Never forget it." Lyra nodded. "I will not, Captain. I have learned more than I could have imagined about your people." Bennett smiled slightly. "Good. You will need that understanding in the days to come. The criminals who kidnapped these children will face justice, and their allies will think twice before attempting anything similar. Humanity does not forgive when our young are threatened." The stars outside the observation deck shimmered, and Lyra felt a sense of awe. The humans had arrived, rescued the children, and shown the galaxy why they were respected and feared. She understood now that their power did not lie only in weapons or ships, but in their courage, loyalty, and the fierce protection of those they loved. The mission had been successful, but Lyra knew the story was not over. The criminals were still out there, and the humans' pursuit of justice would not end until every threat to their children was eliminated. She felt a mixture of anticipation and respect, knowing that the next phase would test both humans and aliens alike. For the first time, Lyra truly understood why humanity was considered one of the strongest forces in the galaxy. Their children were sacred, and anyone who dared to harm them would discover the full measure of human resolve.